And what it was a covenant breaking spirit. And everybody was affected in some way, but I was the one that was the most affected. But God did that. Why did he have to do that? Because he had to get me out of wanting the approval of men. Because being a rejected child, I always looked for approval and validation. Because my parents, weren't there because they ran off and did whatever. So obviously there was something wrong with me because my parents didn't want to raise me. So what happened? I needed everyone's approval. Then I was raised by my big mama, who's a old Southern woman. She's 94. And I tell everybody before there was Medea, there was Big Mama, because I got my gun-toting cussing granny. But because she was a hard woman, she never gave the affectionate approval, and she was the type that, okay, you did good, but then she'd point out your flaws. What I realized, she wasn't pointing out my flaws to tell me how defected I was. It was to improve me. But my perspective of it gave me a wrong perception, which became my reality, which made me have to fight for everyone's approval. I didn't have to fight for anyone's approval. How many of us know that warriors are different? We're cut from a different cloth. So we're never made to fit in. That's why so many of us we're always trying to fit in. We're never made to fit in. We were created to be different. If we fit in and looked like everybody else and did what everybody else did, what impact will we be making? That's right. My ministry style is so different, and I always want to be one with the big voice, and I'm like, Jesus, I can't even yell without my voice. I got this little voice, and but I had to realize there's power in what God gave me. So quit coveting what everybody else has.
The word. That's it.
We oftentimes look at, say, Apostle Candace, and like, God, I want that power. Do you know what she went through for that power? Don't covet someone else's giftings.
That's it.
Go through your own rigorous training, because she went through her own rigorous training. One thing my brother showed me about Rangers, he said when Rangers go in for training, he said we all go through the same training, but the outcome is different for each one. We all may be going through a very similar training.
Good teaching.
But our outcome is different than what Pastor Burris will be, what my husband will be, what Apostle Kevin, Apostle Candace. It's all going to be different. But what God is so brilliant in how he does things, we're all rightly fitted together. Every joint is supplying. So whereas Apostle Candace is in your face, I'm kind of like stealth mode. I come in behind the scenes and like, bam, there you go. But that's how God made each and every one of us to be different. But we're so busy looking at the image of what we think something is, the image of power. Most of the ones walking around here hollering in the mic ain't got no power. Most of the ones sitting there promoting themselves and pushing themselves, they don't have a leg to stand on. And we're sitting here, we're basically coveting their gifts and coveting wanting to be like them. And God is saying, if you quit looking at them and look at what I put in you, be the warrior that God called you to be. But we're so broken and so wounded. So many of us have been so wounded, we don't even know our own identities. We don't know, and actually I preached about this Sunday, we don't know what God is calling us in this season and in this time. We're still holding on to the word he gave us back in 1995. That word was relevant, but is it relevant for now? The Lord always, I'm a worshiper, I'm big on intimacy. I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm Mary, I'm just at your feet. And so the Lord always gives me something like, oh, you're Sarah, and you're Mary, you're this and you're that. And one year I was Deborah, and which I was excited about because my Jewish name is Devorah. I'm like, yeah, I'm a judge, yeah. And so this year, matter of fact, it was right before our anniversary, wasn't it? This year, like I said, I just talked about this on Sunday. I began to ask the Lord. I said, who am I in this season? And so, of course, I'm expecting to hear something flowery and nice and, what I think is anointed. And so I didn't hear at that time, but I'm really probably like, okay, God, what's my name? Who am I? Who am I in this season? And one thing I did hear was general. And I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't know if I want to be a general. I'm like, I just want to be at your feet, Jesus. So I just like, okay. So we went for our anniversary. We went to see, I keep forgetting the name of the movie, Exodus. The movie about Moses. And so we knew a lot of the stuff. We didn't go looking for sound biblical doctrine. We knew it was Hollywood. So we enjoy good entertainment. We crack jokes like, okay, so Jesus is a little boy now? Okay, funny. Like, God is talking to him. The burning bush is now a little boy. So, we're going through our jokes or whatever. So, but what it did, it intrigued me to revisit the story of Moses. And so I said, because I told my husband in the car, I said, it's making me want to go back and look at the story of Moses again. So I go through that. So that was December 13th. Mm-hmm. So 2 weeks later, we had New Year's coming up. And so I decided, for my spiritual children, this is what I do. I always think for my babies. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to take them to, it's a church in the Atlanta area, a good friend of ours. And so we're going to take them there, because we got a small congregation. It's only 3. Do not despise small beginnings. I'm thankful for my 3 babies. And so I'm always thinking about what I can do for them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to gather them. As a matter of fact, 2 of them back there right there. Hey. So I'm like, we're going to get them and we're going to take them. Now, when I tell you the enemy fought tooth and nail to prevent all of us from getting to the service, I had a temper tantrum right before we get ready to leave. My husband would tell you I was sleepy, I was tired, I had just gotten off work. I was mad because I'm working like 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So I was mad, I'm sleep deprived and everything else. And so I was supposed to get off at a certain time of the day. We got off later, so I was mad about that. I found every reason in the world to be mad instead of tapping into the presence of God. How often do we do that? We find every reason to be angry about something. That's not righteous indignation, that's your emotions. So my emotions were all over the place. And so I was like, I need to take a nap. So I took a nap. So my spiritual son texted me, said something crazy. And I fell out of the bed. I was like, I ain't got time for this. So my husband is just like, he's not moved by my emotions, thank God. So he just looks at me, he's like, baby, come on, get ready. Oh, I'm not going. I'm only going for these kids. I'm tired. I could be sleeping in the New Year. I don't care. You know how many New Year's I've seen? I can just go to bed. So Lee is fussing. Then my other spiritual daughter texts me, she's like, he's coming with me, his wife's not coming, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm mad again because I'm like, why is his wife not coming? So then he texted me back. I'm like, just get here. Then his wife texts me. And I'm like, I just pretty much gave her an order, like, get here in 15 minutes. So I'm still throwing my temper tantrum. Because at this point, I'm like, I'm only going for these kids. I really don't want to go now. How many times have we let our current emotions deter us from a destiny appointment? That's why it's so important to be in control of your emotions, because your emotions will keep you out of a place that can catapult you to the next dimension. But we're so busy being led by how I feel now. Oh, it don't feel right. It's not going to feel right. You're always going to be uncomfortable. God doesn't want us comfortable, because if we get comfortable, then we settle. And if we don't reach for the deeper in Him, we don't reach for the greater. So we can't get comfortable. So back to my little emotional fit. So he's in the closet getting dressed, and I'm standing in the closet fussing, and I was like, and I don't think I'm equipped to be a pastor. I was like, I don't want to be a pastor no more. I was like, we don't have to do this. And I was like, oh, that's right. I'm not a pastor. I'm an apostle. So you need to be a pastor. So I don't have to be a pastor. And I'm just going on. He's steady getting ready. He is not moved. And then I'm getting more and more wives. We know how we do. We get angry because they don't respond to our emotions. And so I'm fussing at him. And you don't even care. You just getting dressed. Whatever. Okay, fine. I'll go. I'm only going for you. The apostle threw a fit that day. And I heard God say, if you don't get yourself together and get dressed. I'm like, all right, God, fine. So, and I'm being honest, because I think some people think as leaders we are above certain things. Sometimes I think we get it worse because we carry hours and everybody else's. So we go on to the church, and so I'm trying to bring in my wandering mind, bring myself in, and the old folks know about that, bring in your wandering mind. And so we're in the car, so we get to service, and it was right at the height of praise and worship, and they were singing the anthem by Planet Shakers. So immediately, and I had cut the fool, and I was immediately like, yes, Lord, yes. So we get this on. Y'all know how we do. Yep. So we're sitting there, and so he called for everybody to come to the altar. So well, 2 of my spiritual babies went up, and I'm like, yes, Lord, do it for them. Yes, Lord, that's right, get him, Jesus. So he had my son all out on the floor, and had the wife all out on the floor, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, get him, get my son, get my daughter. They need you, Jesus. They need an encounter with you. I'm pushing for their encounter. Sometimes we can be so worried about somebody else's encounter that we miss the encounter that God has for us. So, I'm looking at my other spiritual daughter in the back like, get your butt up here, because I'm like, you need what's up here, get up here. So she comes up and, they get her. I'm like, yeah, get her. That's right, get all three of them. Yes, I told the Lord to get them. I'm like, get all three of them. I'm like, make my work easier, Lord, get them. Like, Lord, you said your burden was light, get them. So then the next thing, the prophet says, Apostle, come here. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, Jesus. So basically, long story short again, he calls me up front. He begins to prophesy. And so I can be very prideful, especially with my eyelashes, y'all. And, I'm standing there and I'm trying to keep them. I'm serious. When you got your lashes on, you get deliverance. Y'all pray for me. I need deliverance from the eyelashes, y'all. But you got eyelashes. See, Mills is here. We don't have an altar call for people who got lashes. But see, the thing with the key to deliverance is you need to want to come out of agreement with a thing, and I'm not ready to go out of agreement. So basically, the first thing I think about is my eyelashes, my makeup. I'm like, God, I came kind of looking kind of cute. I'm like, wait, you can't do this to me, Jesus. And so I'm standing there and I'm trying to, I'm being honest. I'm being naked before you, basically. So I'm saying, like, Jesus, the thoughts go in my mind, like, okay, we're going to make this prophecy quick because I got to keep this together, So how many times do we allow external things to keep us out of the presence of God? So finally, I guess Jesus was like, bump you in them eyelashes. And, and so my husband said it was kind of like the slow breakdown. It's like, right, they see all that. I'm like, oh, Jesus, Lord. Because the man of God was hitting things that I would not allow God to hit. And he was basically bringing those things back to surface so that I could begin to faith, even down to rejection from being a child. That made me feel like because I was rejected because of this, then I have to be this way. My God. How many times have we allowed a rejection to make us create an alter ego? My God. Many of us that are walking around, we're not who we say we are. Yeah. Because we've created an alter ego out of a wounded place. When God wants us to go back to that wounded place and find our healing. So the man of God was healing all of that. So one of the things that he began to say is that the Lord was calling me Moses. And he was like, wow, really, that was really madness and purpose in my madness of going back to search Moses. Like, it wasn't for naught, Jesus. But the Lord at that point gave me my identity for this season that I'm in. That's good. How many of us, like I said, we hold on to words and, from 1995 when we just got saved and Jesus was like, I called you, Adam, and we still think we Adam. And God is like, I'm trying to get you to walk into being a Joshua. I'm trying to get you to walk into being a Daniel. I want to put you in the palace, but you're so busy holding on to the beginning of creation. We're out of place because we won't seek God for our identity. But we rather for man to validate us and give us our identity. Now, Pastor said that we were whoever, we're going to run with it. But we won't spend time in the presence of the Lord for him to tell us who we are. His word trumps all. I'd rather take the time to spend in the presence of the Lord and get my true identity than walk around here as something that I was never created to be.
Would you breathe?